Well, Mary Preston, that woman that we spoke with tonight is still shaken up by all of this. Recalling the details brought tears to her eyes. And the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office says the victims here were targeted solely based on their race.
The whole time I'm like, what do I do? What do I do?
Finding herself in a flurry of chaos and confusion. A simple trip to get bubble tea with her kids last week turned into a nightmare for Pamela Cole.
As a parent, I couldn't protect my kids, right? And that was the worst thing.
Driving down Graham Street towards MLK, she got stuck at that red light. That's when she made eye contact with the man driving behind her.
Once he made eye contact with me, he stopped, jumped out of his car, and was like, F you, you Asian B, F you.
And Cole says it did not end there.
When he gets to the middle of the street, he's like pounding his fist like this, and he's like, get out, get out, get out.
3 days later, and just a few minutes north, 2 other Asian American women targeted. Court documents say that same man, 51-year-old Christopher Hamner, cut them off in traffic, yelled expletives, and threw things at their car. He was arrested Thursday at the VA hospital where he works, charged with a hate crime. Prosecutors say he, quote, demonstrated violent anti-Asian behavior towards multiple victims.
We're so sick of being invisible. I don't understand why we are invisible. I will never be, too proud to be Asian. This is who I am. Everything about me is Asian.
Well, Steve, we're just about a week into phase 3 now, and while that allows for up to 50% capacity, some places just aren't seeing those numbers yet. There is optimism, though, that with more vaccines rolling out, that will change, just so long as we don't see a dramatic spike in those COVID case numbers. That unmistakable sound is starting to grow a little louder at West Seattle Bowl, where cooped-up couples and families are returning to the lanes.
We had a little uptick in business this week, and seems like people are kind of getting out and about.
Jeff Swanson says the busiest time of the year, which is normally winter, was tough between being closed down and later operating at just 25%. He's hoping that phase 3 and doubling the number of bowlers will help to spare business from further setbacks.
We're just trying to, accommodate people when they come in to their level of comfort.
Just up the road at the Admiral Theater,
every time they come in the door now, they're like, we're so glad you're open.
The regulars are helping the bottom line there, but the bottom line is things are still sluggish.
We could potentially have up to 100 people in our bigger theaters, but at most we get usually like 30 or 40.
Barbara Cawley hopes that by summer, moviegoers will be eager to get back to the big screen.
By then, the vaccine will be a little bit more spread out, and we're gonna get some bigger Disney movies in July.
And over at the Junction at Kazuki Ramen, indoor dining is starting to outpace takeout orders.
We've been seeing a lot of people who it's their first time coming out to eat in over a year.
Over the last year, business here is down about 40%. Although Ari Rangel is optimistic that phase 3 and eventually the next step will serve up even more success.
Hopefully in the next couple of months we can at least move up to 75%.
Well, guys, even though Washington is opening up vaccine eligibility to about 2 million people later this week, many states have already opened the floodgates when it comes to anyone who would want a shot. And health experts here say there's a reason why we have decided to keep our floodgates closed for the time being.
Millions of Americans have received at least one round of the vaccine, and the anticipation of getting inoculated has many states opening up appointments to anyone who wants them. In Washington, the state is taking a different approach.
That would only make our situation worse, in my opinion.
Dr. Jeff Duchin says the reasons why opening up eligibility now would worsen our situation is twofold. For one, we still don't have adequate supply to meet the demand in places like King and Snohomish County.
Demand still far outweighs the supply.
Dr. Chris Spitters says under our current situation, even with an uptick in supply, most adults in Snohomish County won't be completely vaccinated until the end of the summer.
But even under the best case scenario, this is going to take several months.
The other main reason, according to Duchin, is the state's dedication to equity.
You'll see gaps there, but you'll see that those gaps, I believe, are narrower, and there's less disparity than you find in many of the states.
According to Public Health Seattle and King County, the majority of folks over the age of 65 have been vaccinated, and Duchin expects those gaps to close even more as more shots go into arms.
I think Washington State is trying to be very intentional about equity in the vaccine rollout.
So even as larger states like Texas and California plan to open up within the next few weeks, Washington health officials say they're going to open up May 1st, and until then, continue to focus on groups who have been hit the hardest by this virus.
We all need to be patient as we wait to get a vaccine.
Well, Mother Nature isn't pulling any punches, you guys, but luckily there's been a slight reprieve with the weather right now. But just within the last few hours, we've been dealing with heavy rain, some sleet, wind going very strong, and some strong gusts making its way through Mukilteo near the ferry terminal. As you can see behind me, lack of visibility off into the distance as you go further north into the Sound as you head toward Everett and that area. The visibility really starting to decrease, but luckily, like I said, we're just getting some drizzling right now, not as bad as what we were seeing just a few moments ago. But as we've mentioned, Mother Nature really coming down in some areas. If you take a look at some of the video that we shot earlier today, you can see a tree had fallen on top of a house that we observed in Everett, just devastating the homeowner there who's been there for quite some time. Along with that, we've seen in the waterfront in Mukilteo waves strong because of those gusts that have been detected to occasionally blow in at over 50 miles an hour. It's led to thousands of folks without power. Snohomish PUD saying that over 2,000 customers were without power there. Again, just seeing the strong impacts from some of what Mother Nature's brought. But as we've mentioned, it's just drizzling right now, nothing too significant in the Mukilteo area, but we're going to continue to monitor what's taking place, and we'll be sure to bring you the very latest as it becomes available. For now, live in Mukilteo, Nick Popham, KOMO News.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Preston Phillips from KOMO News. Thanks for checking out the KOMO YouTube channel. You can see more of our videos right here by clicking on the video links for more news from the Seattle area and Western Washington. Oh, and don't forget to click the subscribe button below so you don't miss our YouTube updates.